The last I checked. Hey guys. Oh my goodness, what's today? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. It's your girl who swirls, Chris Karazin. Welcome,
Hey guys.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, what's today? Wednesday.
I always forget to do that. I always forget to turn myself off.
To turn yourself off.
I know. I know I need to turn myself off. I have a treat for you guys today. I got my buddy Kendall St. Charles on the line, and we have a couple things we want to talk about. But just so you know, this is a precursor of what's going to be happening in 2019, and the reason why I titled this this hangout "The Purple Pill" is because we are transitioning. We are going to start doing our own podcast going into the new year. And Raz has it right. Blue plus pink equals purple. And so the purple pill is going to be all about us discussing, things that are important to us that we think we can add a yin and a yang to. And there's a couple topics today that touch on some subjects that we both have positions on, and I want to talk to you guys about that. The first one is, Kendall, you said that you saw the video that I did yesterday about the 9-year-old that committed suicide.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as simple as swallowing her mother's aspirin, which seems so much easier, just whatever. She hung herself.
Yeah.
Because she was taunted so badly by other Black children who taunted her by saying similar things that we hear today. You ugly, you Black, you think you white, because a white child who happened to be a boy showed her some kindness.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about all that?
Yeah, that's insane, but it really is. It's like it's bringing the pathology that uniquely affects Black women. It's literally, it's the microcosm of the macrocosm, right? We're literally a child. It's playing out in the children's world now.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you guys years ago, if you stop it, they will come. And I told you that as more and more Black women began to think for themselves and to question the one-sided dynamic, the one-sided loyalty, as things began to change and we began to operate differently, there was going to be a concerted attack from within the community on Black women. And I told you, watch out, because you're going to start seeing more attacks on Black women in the streets. I told you, those of you particularly who are swirlers, to be more cognizant, start making some plans with you and your boo about self-protection, because we're going to start seeing more attacks on women who are openly engaged in relationships with non-Black men, and even those of us who aren't. They're going to assume it's like we're all now bed wenches.
Yeah, I mean, yes. If you walk down the street and you're with a Mexican guy and y'all are just talking about the weather,
right? Now you're a bed wench. And I also told you that we were going to see more attacks on Black women that were being showcased on social media, which we've seen an uptick in the last year or two. And now we're seeing it even affect these baby girls. So the story is that she was being bullied. She went to a primarily Black school and she was being bullied because she had white friends. That's the story, right? Mm-hmm. So when
in particular, it was a little boy.
The boy. So when the story
and the family, I guess, was kind to her, would pick her up from school, and so the other kids saw, so that these white people were showing this little Black girl who they believe is worthless some kindness. So this is that I think comes into it as well.
And so the way it was when the story first dropped, they didn't really specify. When I read it, the first story I saw, I didn't quite understand. I thought that she was being bullied by white kids.
Me too.
I thought she was bullied, and then as the story started to unfold and more articles came out, I was like, oh, wait a minute. She was being bullied, which made more sense, by the Black kids because she had a white friend. And more specifically, she, a little Black girl, had a little white friend who was a boy.
Yes.
And ladies, I hope y'all see it now, because I've been trying to tell y'all.
Mm-hmm.
that there's a double standard that is live and kicking, that has been alive and kicking. Chris, you've talked about it for years. I've talked about it for years. Now everybody's talking about what's so to me is ridiculous that it took everybody. We way showers had to come up and say, speak to the obvious, that there's clearly a double standard present in the Black community when it comes to interracial dating and interracial love. And that there is a expectation for Black women to remain exclusively loyal to Black men romantically, sexually, and genetically, reproductively, and that imperative is not present for Black men when it comes to us. I've talked about it for years. You've talked about it for years, and now everybody wants to talk about it, which is very interesting in itself. But anybody older than 3 minutes, can tell you. I mean, this is not some secret. It's one of those things that has been hiding in plain sight. And so I've been telling you guys, you've been telling them for years on your platform. I've been telling them for years on my platform that there is a double standard that is very much predicated on the idea that Black women are supposed to remain loyal sexually and reproductively loyal to Black men, all while Black men have the option to taste the rainbow. And this is all about.
I wonder though, Kendall, if that would have been, if the genders had been reversed, and the boy was a 9-year-old Black boy who had a white little girl who was his friend. And the parents were kind to him and dropped him off to and from school. Does anybody question whether or not that little boy would feel so despondent and taunted and teased because he had a little white friend?
I doubt very seriously that he would have been driven to suicide. I'm not going to say it couldn't have happened, but I doubt, because the community in general takes a very different approach to Black male assimilation into white culture and acceptance into white color and integration than it does Black female. And this is studies even show this. There's a study that came out in 2016 that talked about how Black girls have a harder time in mostly white environments.
Published in Ebony. We talked about it. Boys have much an easier time.
I remember that even from high school, and they were talking about the reason why is because a lot of the stereotypes that Black males are able to tap into are beneficial, that they are cooler, that they're hipper, that they are naturally athletic even when they're not, that they have music and athletics to kind of bridge the gap for them, whereas Black girls don't have that.
No.
And so
they're seen as like masculine, sexy, physically.
Right. And then Black girls are also And then Black girls are also raised to be very intimidated by white girls. So we feel really funny about being in mixed social groups with white girls. It's just a weird thing that happens. So it's not surprising, but it's very telling that this Black girl she's 9 and she's facing what women like you and those of us on our camp face every day.
And here's the thing, I'm grown, and that's what I said yesterday. I've had, and Kendall, because I've called you and told you.
Oh yeah.
Calling my house, writing letters to my neighbors, to my family, trying to shame, writing people who they think I'm doing business with, all trying to ruin me, using my. And this is the thing. I got a comment recently that said, "Is this woman even married to a white man?"
Yeah,
you saw that too?
Yeah.
Because he never shows him. Now, what if I show? Here's the thing. This is how crazy this thing is. If I used to show them. I'm very proud of my family. I used to show them, but then what would people do? They would
on memes.
They would create memes. They would exploit my children. They used my children's image. They used my husband's image. They're creating whole websites, that threatens my family and my livelihood, what have you. And then when I complain about it, they say, it's your fault. You put it out there.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, one of the resident longtime He-Man Black Women Hater Club founders, your favorite Mr. Pete, did a not too long ago saying that it's your fault that you invited this toxicity into your world by showing your family.
Yes.
But then on the other hand, if you don't show your family, like I don't, then you a fraud.
It's not really real.
Right. So when you did offer up, and to be honest with you ladies, I was the one who really, really advised Chris to just leave her family out of it. So for anybody who's just showing up recently, you won't necessarily know. So you'd be like, well, where is this mystical, husband of hers? Because we don't ever see him. But if you've been around for a minute, he has been in videos.
Yeah.
He has been present on her platform. But I was the one who told her, stop it. Because you see these people are freaking crazy.
I mean, here's the thing. It's so funny to me. He was at the retreat. He spoke. He was a speaker at the retreat. And so I'm like, you know what? I should start calling you Mr. Snuffleupagus because people don't believe you even exist.
Right. Y'all have even said that your husband is not real, or that y'all been divorced and not, for years, and you're just pretending to stay married. Like that would fly.
Right. Exactly, because that's actually something that's filed in is public domain that you would get a hold of, but whatever.
But I would just
irrelevant, folks.
This girl, 9-year-old girl, was experiencing what like women in our sector experience every day.
Every day, but she's a child,
She's a child. But it doesn't matter because the parents of the people who do that kind of stuff to us are the parents of the kids who did that to her.
Yeah, definitely.
So y'all Black love people.
Right.
This is what happens, right? When you're raising your children in so-called all Black environments where they're so threatened by the presence of any Black child who doesn't fall in line with Blackistani cultural precepts and concepts, doesn't eat the same food, doesn't drink the same drinks, doesn't listen to the same music, doesn't dance the same dance, doesn't speak the same way. They're so easily driven to insecurity by any Black person, any Black child who doesn't toe the party line, that their children then become reflective of that, because their children all have terrible self-esteem issues. Contrary to all the so-called Black love that we supposedly have for each other in the community, we're not raising our children to have any real self-esteem. And so there's a lot of colorism present. These little boys are being raised to hate little Black girls openly, and nobody's challenging it.
And it starts early. You don't think by 9 they've already internalized that? Absolutely, they have. The things that they were saying about that girl: you Black, you ugly, you think you white, go kill yourself.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me today, why don't you go kill yourself, you bedwench? But I'm grown. So I can look at something like that and laugh. But if I were 9 years old, and somebody, and I was repeatedly told to go kill myself, and if I was, vulnerable, if I was struggling with, whatever issues, and here's the thing, Kendall, we need to talk about this too, because there are there's no victims in the Black community unless other people outside of the community impose those wrongs. If it's in the community, you're not a victim, it's your own fault. So there was a commenter who said,
that's only if you're a girl though.
Huh?
That's only if you're a girl.
Well, I don't know, because in Chicago, like you said, people are getting murdered in Chicago all the time. All these other Black men are killing other Black dudes in Chicago. We're not hearing about them. Are they blaming white people for all those killings?
Well, they kind of are. They're saying that they're dropping the guns in the areas and
okay.
Yeah. There's lots of conspiracy theories about what's happening in Chicago.
So this is like the Iran-Contra thing. So this is like Iran-Contra, where like the government is bringing in, or crack, like they're bringing in these things and they're going to kill each other. Okay, but so you don't have the choice whether you're going to pull the trigger or not. Like if a gun dropped on my lawn, I would be like, oh wow, there's a gun on my lawn. Let me take it to the police station. Not, wow, there's a gun on my lawn. Let me go shoot somebody. But whatever.
Well, you see, sister, what you don't understand, sister, is the COINTELPRO, sister. They're organized. See, what you have to do is understand the sociology of the psychology of oppression. Did you read the book, The Pedagogy of Oppression, sister? Because if you listen to Neely Fuller talking about, being on comedy, don't forget Frances Cress Welsing, and she talked about, the billiards table be in the earth and it's green. Balls on the table, and you see the goal is the black ball, the white ball off the table. But because this is what you're gonna get. So, no, and I know all that stuff later because I used to believe that stuff.
Right.
That's why I know it.
Girl.
So their thought is if they dropped the guns, like there was a video going around about how they were dropping sneakers in the black neighborhoods, or leaving trucks full of merchandise, sneakers and stuff in the neighborhoods and waiting for the black boys.
Yes, I saw that.
That's a setup.
And I'm like, you don't have to get the sneakers, like.
But if you that's like dropping food in a village full of starving people. Of course, they're gonna go for the sneakers. That's what they said. That's what Black people's excuse are. These are people who living in poverty. Of course, they're
gonna when you need food, that you need bread.
Right.
You know, I like honestly, the excuses. We are so creative with the excuses, but so the attribution to this poor 9-year-old killing herself was the mother. She must have been a single mother. It must be the mother's fault. Like there are no victims in the Black community if other Black people are doing it. They're only victims when it happens outside of the community. It's crazy how that is.
Everything that Black people do to each other, according to Black people, is the result of white supremacy.
Yes,
everything.
It is. We're perfect. Otherwise, we're completely noble and wonderful, and everything is great. But white people have ruined it all. We were perfect. We were, Adam and Eve, the original people, which I do believe, but I never once for 1 second believed that we are any different, any less evil, any less noble, any less good, any less bad than anybody else.
Well, to me, if we really are the so-called kings and queens, the gods and goddesses of this earth, then we got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
Because how do you let a person who y'all say was they cave people, Neanderthals, 10% of the human population like how do you let them dominate you? So if you're a king and a queen, so I got questions about that theory because I got lots of questions. But according to them, Yaqub, sister, he grafted the white man. You see. And see, that's the belief of the 5% is. I used to be part of that nonsense back in the day too. Yaqub done grafted the white man. And it's from the pig and something else. This is whole story about Yaqub. So unfortunately, the little Black girl killed herself because of Yaqub. You see, because ultimately everything that Black people do and all dysfunction that you see, particularly when you see it affect Black girls or coming from Black females or Black girls, then that's inherently our issue. But if it's with Black people in general or the Black man, then that's white supremacy.
I see.
So the Black girl killed herself because she just wasn't strong enough.
Yes, because the Black woman is inherently, since the 1960s, God has punished her for trading and selling out her men for Wiccan welfare, and so this is her karma for selling her people out for Wiccan welfare in the 1960s. Is that it?
Yeah, I don't even know why Black women are even feeding into that.
Thank you, Tab.
Because those lies are not hard to dispel.
Right.
We don't want to do the research on our own. We're just going to listen to somebody, whatever dude is going to pick up the mic and start telling us about who we are as Black people and Black women. Black women are looking for Black men to tell us who we are. We don't want to go looking for the answers ourselves.
But I wanted to say something too. I don't know if you heard the video that I did. I think it was on Friday. We have more than any time ever in human history, in the history of humans, do we have access to information like we've never had before. You don't have to go to a library anymore to get access to information. Thank you, HM. You don't need to go to the library anymore to get information. It's at your fingertips. Google has all this information. And I have found that people are more lazy when it comes to researching, finding the answers, and it is right there. It's right. It's been right there more so than any. Like Kendall, you remember, we would have to go, we had a report, we had to go to the library, we would have to go through microfiche. Remember all of that? We had to go through the card catalogs to get information. If it was a book, we had to get, if we lived in a remote place like I did, you had to like order a book, or maybe you had to drive down to some other major city to get the information, but it's all right here now. And I have seen the level of ignorance, the level of willful ignorance for information that is just right beyond your fingertips, like just right there, is astounding to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they've, it was long since said that if you want to hide anything from the Negro, put it in a book. So
right. But now it's like you hide it, if you gotta, just if you want to hide things from the Negro, put it in anything outside of Instagram, Twitter, and Wikipedia.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate. At this point, I've gotten to a place of like acceptance with all of it when it just comes to us as a group, as a collective. That's not to say that they're not individuals, but we don't want knowledge. We talk about knowledge all day long, but what we want is groupthink. What we want is somebody to come along and tell us what we should think, and it needs to be said in such a way that it rings all the right bells and whistles, that it exonerates us from any personal accountability or responsibility, that it paints us as these noble, inherently good people, and white people and everybody else as these evil, devilish people. And then of course, if you can throw in some, it's really the Black woman's fault because who she shouldn't have chose thugs. If you could throw some of that in there, pepper that in, that's always good. And so we just really want to hear the same thing over and over again. And what a lot of Black people have done is supplanted the pastor with the internet pimp. You want to see Hidden Colors 5,323, and and you just want somebody else. But what gets me though, what frustrates me, and what I've just had to kind of accept and move on from, is the fact that Black women, we stay talking about how we're the highest, higher education demographic in the country. We're the second or the first higher degree earners in the country.
The most enrolled or something about that,
But we still ignorant as hell. Because it's what we choose to seek information on, what we choose to educate ourselves on. So we'll educate ourselves on stuff that we think are going to help the community, sociology, psychology degrees. We're going to create a grassroots organization. We're going to give back to the community, helping professions. We all got to be Florence Nightingale. But when it comes to learning the truth about the real world, suddenly we can't seem to figure out no information on our own. Now we got to seek out some kind of leader, or preacher, or a pulpit pimp to tell the truth. And so this is why it's easy to pull the wool over our eyes. But I don't see Black women as victims any longer, because in this work, since I've been doing this work, what I have found is the majority of us do not want to know the truth. It's very unfortunate. But that little girl, she's a microcosm of what's going on with adult women. This attack on the idea of Black girls being accepted by white boys. It's not something that just happened to this little girl. It's an extension of what's happening in the real world.
Black people outrage for that. There's so much outrage for that. Like,
I don't know, where was the outrage from within the community when Harry Belafonte and Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson? Where was all of that? Because I remember growing up watching so many of these famous Black males who had non-Black partners, and I don't remember all of this I remember Black women grumbling under our breath about it, but I don't remember all of this consternation from the community and its concern about the future of the race and the future of melanin.
Right, and genocide and all this other stuff. That wasn't present.
I mean, as soon as Black women started doing it, suddenly it's a problem. Even now, you got a little Black girl who was bullied so much just simply because she had a friendship with a little white boy. So even the little girls are not protected from this one-sided loyalty thing, where the Black female is always supposed to be the designated survivor and stay behind, waiting for the love of the Black male. But he's off chasing, red, yellow, brown, and green rainbows, and we're supposed to just accept it and mind our business. So it's just very interesting. It's very interesting to see. And unfortunately, that little girl, she lost her life because of what some of us experience every day.
And I wanted to say something too. For the people who say, nobody's stopping you from swirling, nobody's stopping you, this is all in your head. I want you to look to, and when I have said, from the beginning, the reason why Black women are so hesitant to date interracially is because of the social consequences. Yes. People laughed at me. And look, you see this right now. You see in plain sight, in real time, the social consequences of just even having a friend that's a boy who's white. You know, and and the impact that it has spiritually, emotionally, psychologically on you, and why so many Black women stay where they are, because for some people, not for me, not for me, for some women, for some Black women, what people think about them, especially their families, what their families think about them, is so important to them. That and their family and friends, that is the most important thing that rules their decisions. And I got to say that I have never been burdened with that, but I do understand that, and the social consequences can be so much that you say, I don't want that, because these relationships are so important to me, and if I lose them, then I will be despondent. And so I wouldn't be happy with this person in a romantic relationship anyway, because I wouldn't be connected with the people who are my family and are very important to me. So for anybody who says, why do you still talk about these issues? You got pink pill. Why aren't you talking about fluffy things? Why aren't you talking about this and that and the other? Why are you bringing it down? Because we still, as a unit, as Black women, we still go in a certain trajectory because of the social consequences that we fear. And unless the beacon, the bat signal, as you like to say it, Kendall, is put out there, they're gonna feel like they're all alone. Just like this little child who felt like Mackenzie, who felt like she was all alone, to where the point where she was so despondent that she wanted to end her life. Community is important. If the pressures of the Black community are so large that even a 9-year-old is contemplating suicide, do you not think that we still have some things as Black women to address? I mean, come on.
Well, you're not a woman though. You're a man without a dick.
I guess so. That's right.
That's the difference.
Because we're Black first. If you're Black first, you are a man without a dick.
You're a man the community wants you to see yourself as a man without a dick.
Yeah.
And so therefore you don't have any interests that are specifically your own because you're female. I mean, Yvette Carnell tells you that once a week.
Right.
But you don't have that. Nothing that happens to you is because you're a woman. Everything that happens to you is because you're Black. Right. And so the community is
coming from a woman who's a lesbian. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have. You know how I feel about that. It's like, bitch, when you fucking them and got to birth them, then we can have a.
Right. When you can speak for us, but don't speak for Black womanhood.
Right. And I don't have anything against lesbian sisters, but
Neither do I.
In this
but
game,
and listen to a lesbian tell me about my femininity and my womanhood and my relationship to other men. Like, if you're not, you know what I mean? You're not.
No, we're not playing them games up in here because it's easy for you to tell me as a heterosexual woman where my loyalty should lie when you don't have no damn skin in the game. Did you birth one of them?
Right.
Did you push male out your ass? No, you didn't. I did. So have a seat. Do you fucking
You're not.
And my understanding is that she's even in her personal relationship, she's with a white woman. She's not even, my understanding is that she's not even loving a fellow Black woman. She's with the white woman. So I don't understand how she gets to say anyway about what I'm supposed to be doing or where my loyalty should lie and what my perspective should be when she's not loving any Black person. That's very interesting
Exactly.
And the only reason why Yvette Carnell gets away with it is because of what she's saying. The Black community don't have no love for Black lesbians. The Black community don't have no love for Black women in interracial relationships, whether it's heterosexual or not. But she gets away with it because of what she's saying, because she is so Black male identified.
You see the allowances that they make? You had from the Advise show who has a white Hispanic wife, and as long as he's falling in line with the typical talking points, that doesn't matter. And you have Yvette Carnell, who is, I suspect, I mean, she's an extremely light-skinned Black woman. Is she mixed? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what she is.
Who is a lesbian, and Vanessa also said that she is paired with a white woman. So you have somebody who is clearly, I don't know. I think it's a safe bet that she's mixed with white, as light as that woman is.
Mm-hmm.
Biracial to me. She's a lesbian with a white woman. How is it that she gets 1,000 views on her live streams?
Because
she's tons of donations, and it's only because as long as you say the necessary things to give this particular collective the excuse for not doing anything, because that's really what it's about. They want to have the excuse. They want to have the reasons and have some kind of as to why they're not doing anything. So if anybody who comes along and says it's not your fault, yeah, okay, I may not be walking the walk, I may not be talking the talk, but I'm going to produce these message points. You're embraced. It doesn't matter who you are. It could be a white person who says these things, and they'll accept it.
Well, yeah, like Sean King? They like him.
Yeah, anybody who maintains the message points of it's not your fault, it's somebody else. If you maintain that mantra, it doesn't matter what your origins are or what you do in your own personal life. I could be married to the same man I'm married to, but if I were to go on and use the same message points as Yvette Carnell, I'd be successful.
Mike could be the next African warrior king.
He would. I mean, I would have him up here in a dashiki. Instagram, like, yes, girl, yes.
It's like women who wear wigs and straight. Women who wear wigs and straight wigs and lots of makeup who would normally, I mean, she gets clowned now, but she was able to rise to fame despite that because of what she was saying. They will make exceptions for their normal anti-Black woman hatred if you're saying what they want you to say. So if you're a swirler but you're all about Black people and Black love, they'll cut you some slack. If you are a hair-hatted hooligan but you all about the evil albinoid, then they'll catch you some slack.
Right.
If you're a lesbian who only dates white women, but you all about defending Black men, then they'll cut you some slack. So that they're willing to break their own rules as long as the person is propagating their groupthink and their victim narrative. So for anybody who doesn't, is a problem. And so at this point, I'm just sitting back and watching as an observer because it's all real. It's such an interesting.
There's so much drama, and I look at it from afar because, Kendall, thanks to our talks and your advice, I don't engage in that stuff anymore. But it's kind of, interesting.
I want you to engage so big. Oh, wait, which brings me to the next topic I want to bring up real quick. I want to congratulate you once again in successfully pulling off your first pink pill retreat in Temecula, California. I want to once again tell you how great it is that you managed to host 50 women at a 4-day retreat in California without ending up on the news being accused of stealing people's money and canceling at the last damn moment.
Nobody had to ask Carrie.
And having fucking Help Me Howard and then show up at your door to ring the damn doorbell to find out where people's money is, because for us us on this side to be the swirlers who are the frauds who are selling.
We're the frauds, right?
And we're capitalizing off of Black women's pain, and we're selling Black women. Interesting how it seems like it's always people on that camp that are always being caught with their hand in a cookie jar. Right. It's either the Hotep or the handmaiden Hoteptresses.
Exactly. Wasn't it Boyce? Boyce is being sued.
Boyce. We got Umar, the doctor without doctorates, who's about $1 million is missing. We got the fatherless America.
Yeah.
We got we got the $400 Benny Harlem Trader Joe's hair syrup.
Yes. Benny Harlem. But I'm the fraud. Okay.
We got $30,000 wife school fraud situations accused of, where you can go get yourself a nice little international ashy dick for $30K. I mean, there's been a roster of people who have been outed this year, all on that sector, all on the people we know about blackityness. Yet they don't seem to figure out how to service their constituency without robbing them blind. Now, when I launched my little think tank 5 years ago for $38.50 a month, I was told that I was capitalizing off of Black women, and I was a fraud and all of that. But I mean, I don't remember telling nobody no retreat tickets.
Right. I know for like, I don't know, what was it? There was like 2,000 for some retreat, and the hotel had never been paid. They canceled it.
30 days.
Never paid the hotel. Let me tell you something, and I know all about paying hotels, honey. We had to pay the hotel we were in nearly $40,000. And if you don't pay, you don't play, and they don't play, and that's it. That's it.
So I just thought it was so interesting. I kept hearing all this buzzword of this particular name in my news feed and in my suggested videos, and I clicked on it, and I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, looky here. So let's add another person to the list of the Black love sector who can't seem to stop swindling all of their constituency and their customers out of money. I remember Polite was supposedly accused of stealing somebody's mother. Brother Polite was accused of stealing money earlier this year.
White women too now?
Yeah, the list goes on and on. So it's amazing how we're the ones who are supposedly selling dreams and lies to Black women. Yet we got $400 Trader Joe's syrup being sold to Black women from Benny Harlem, who was lying about all that hair he had, and sold out in 59 seconds. Sold out. Black women were paying $400 for some goddamn maple syrup that nigga got from Trader Joe's, and it wasn't even taking it out of the bottle, just sticking a different.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's been going on. So I just want to once again just say congratulations on managing to offer something to Black women and not rob them blind.
And not robbing them blind. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to have another one next May.
Because according to everyone, those were not.
We're going to our Italy trip in October, and we are having an event back at our same spot in Temecula in May, and nobody who is enrolled, who is not enrolled in the Pink Pill, won't be able to join. So you have to be part of the community before you even join to even have access to that. But we're doing it even bigger and better because the first one was such a smash and such a success because we did what we're supposed to do. Like, I believe in doing what I say I'm going to do, and everybody had the proof. And it's out there, and that's how you do it. That's how you do business. You do what you're supposed to do. If we want to be patronized and repatronized, we got to follow through.
So I just think it's very interesting that with all of the attacks that are launched at our camp about what we're supposedly doing and how we're milking innocent, unsuspecting Black women for their money, and we're selling them white knight dreams and all that. But when you look at the hardcore evidence, Your Honor, it's actually the other part. I mean, if we're going to start doing some, discovery process for the jury and for the trial, I think that the other side has a lot to answer for, because it seems like every 4 to 6 weeks now, every month to 2 months this year, there's been some big thing about somebody taking Black women for money, lying about a product, lying about a service, offering something they don't provide, swapping shit out. I mean, and so it's amazing to me how for all of these people who supposedly love Black people so much, they can't seem to figure out how to respect the Black dollar. They can't seem to figure out how to actually follow through with any of the things they're supposedly trying to do. I don't know how Black people think they're going to dismantle white supremacy. What you going to replace it with? Because y'all can't even handle a basic retreat. I'm supposed to allow a whole system to be put in your hands.
Oh my God.
Put a whole system in your hands. Who's going to keep the lights on? Y'all don't even know the kind of science that it takes to keep lights running. Who's going to pave the streets? Who is going to keep the system going? Because you don't know basic shit because you're waiting for somebody on YouTube to tell you about what life is about.
Right.
You guys are barely passing like 9th grade math, but you think you're ready to dismantle systems. What's interesting is there's never any conversation past what happens when you take the cracker out. So you take the cracker out and he's gone and you dismantle, and then what? And where am I supposed to get food from? Y'all know y'all got these heirloom seeds that we need because y'all don't want to eat the GMO stuff because the evil what do they call them? What are those? The lizards, the evil lizard aliens are working with the Illuminati to overtake the world and destroy and kill all the people and enslave the masses of humans. So when you overthrow the Anunnaki and the aliens from planet Xanos and the white man and the evil Neanderthal and the Ophe, what you gonna replace it with? Because the bitch still gotta eat.
Exactly.
The people that I see talking about dismantling systems, none of them have the skills to pick up where this is about to leave off. So I got questions.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be living in the dark ages because your ass had to take the white man out when you ain't done nothing to try to figure out how to do what he's done so that if you do take him out, then now y'all can pick up where he left off and keep society running. No, we all gonna be back rubbing two sticks together. Right. Because we don't know how to manufacture matches. Like, absolutely not. All of this revolutionary talk. It's just, ladies, and here's the thing. I've listened to a couple of lives with these panel discussions the past couple of weeks. I've listened to a few of them to hear what Black people are saying. And oh my God, it's the same circular ruminations and pontifications that I engaged in the ciphers 30 years ago when I was a teenager. The same kind of ruminations about dismantling and getting the white man out and there's no more. There's literally in the 30 years since I was a teenage girl, they are no further along in what's going to happen afterwards than they were when Du Bois, and matter of fact, Du Bois and Garvey were further along in the conversation 100 years ago than these Negroes are on YouTube today. And I'm saying, what? So say you snap your fingers and tomorrow all the white people are gone. So white supremacy is gone. Boom, it's all gone. Where the food coming from? Who is going to maintain the millions of Black people on this planet? Y'all are going to maintain the system. We're not going to all fall into famine and war. We really going to believe that? We had East Coast and West Coast shit, blood and Crips. We got the Tutsis versus I'm supposed to believe that if the white man disappeared tomorrow, Negroes are going to come together and figure it out in a way that don't leave me dying of hunger or starvation or being raped to death or having my limbs hacked off. Listen, you're not selling me no fugazi nonsense about that. Like you said in your video, the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And when I see Black people constantly yakking about dismantling systems, I never hear about what comes next. What comes next? How do you plan to feed, to house, to clothe, to shelter, to heal, to educate your people? Millions and millions and millions of us. How are you planning on doing that? When your asses don't know basic science. You don't know how the economic system in your world works. What economic system are you going to create? You guys don't know basic shit about the world in which you live in. You know nothing about basic politics. So all the white people are gone, but you still got to negotiate with Asian people and Arab people. Who's going to be at the seat at the table? These African nations, the kings and queens, the kings and presidents of these African nations. Who? The leaders in Blackistan and America? Right. Who's going to now come? Because I'd be down for the cause if y'all had a real plan, but I don't see no plan. Right. In the meantime,
I just did in the last video, I mentioned that Ghana is actively recruiting African Americans to come home to their country, and their dollar is is worth, no, our dollar is equivalent to 5 of their dollars. And they're like, come back here. It's interesting though, I'm not seeing anything on YouTube about some sort of concerted effort to flee the system that they say is so oppressive and going over to Ghana, where they're saying, please come over to our country. We welcome you.
Well, no, because the news story is, well, my ancestors died for this land over here, so I'm not going to give up on my, it's just an excuse. Your ass ain't going back to Africa. Stop it.
No.
Just stop it. You ain't going back to Africa. Ain't no masses of black people going. Y'all so hate the white man, but y'all don't want to go to those all black people
over there. Because you build a mansion over in Ghana, and then the poor people who live in houses with tin roofs see your mansion and they're hungry. They're going to be like, well, why do you have that? Let me go over there. And you can't blame white supremacy when you get robbed, beaten, and raped, and your house jacked up because of the class, the division in class. You can't blame whitey for it. You can't get any recompense for that. So what are you gonna say? What are you gonna do? Because like the very system that you have contempt for, you have recourse if somebody does something to you. But in other countries that are still developing, you may not have that recourse. What are you gonna do? Hire an army? So now you're gonna have to hire an army. I mean, they know this. They want to stay exactly where they are, because where they are, they can complain and get everything that they want, because we live in a free society. So they have the best of both worlds. They can say whatever they want to. They can blame. They can get donations, etc., and be perpetual victims. Over there, you're going to have to be held to account. You can't use white supremacy as your crutch. It really,
yeah. And here is the deal. It's not that I believe that it's impossible for black people to do what we need to do to pull it together. But but black people need to do what they need to do to pull it together, and black people aren't doing it. Period. And so at this point, ladies, for those of you who are young, who are still talking about changing the world, y'all have, good luck with that. I did that. I did that in my 20s and in my early 30s, but I have since I've come to understand some things, unfortunate things about my own people. I don't like it. I would prefer it if we, operated differently, but there's a lot going on there. And in the meantime, who's going to keep the lights on? See, all of that's nice.
Exactly. Who's going to keep the water clean? Who's going to...
I just don't understand. I was just listening to some of these conversations, and they're coming up with these ideas as if what they're saying is so new. And I swear to God, if I hear black people talk about what we need to do is unify one more time, we have no concept of unity. They're on the panel discussions, arguing and screaming amongst each other, calling each other's bitches and niggas. So I don't know where y'all can't even start here with the unity. But you're gonna try to sell me black love dreams,
right?
So, have at that until I see black people putting their money where their mouth is and really willing to have the long-term vision and delayed gratification that is necessary to do the kind of things that I hear always, be side-eyeing it. And like I said, you talking to an old head. I used to be where you at 30 years ago. And I know that the conversations that I'm hearing y'all have about what's supposedly going to happen with black people and how we need to unify. It's the same conversation I had when I was 16 and 17 years old, sitting in the ciphers, listening to the brothers, the gods and the earths, listening to all, I go taking classes with Dr. Ben. I remember those conversations. And nothing has changed. Things have gotten actually worse. The culture has degenerated even further. And there's only more and more excuse making about what white people are and aren't doing. So until y'all can figure out how to outwit and out-strategize white people in a way that doesn't leave me sitting in the dark, rubbing sticks together to get some heat in the hut because you can't figure out how to keep the system going once you dismantle the owners of it, then I'm not really interested in anything you have to say, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to sit and listen to black people pontificate out, for hours, 7, 8 hour long.
Yeah.
It's just like, my God, it just brings back
channels, and then they're like fighting with each other, which is hilarious.
Fight with each other.
Yelling at each other.
It's just unfortunate. And it just, to me, none of it sounds real. I can't take any of it seriously. No. I can't take it it seriously. And it's unfortunate. It's not the way I would want things to be. Hey, I used to be real Afrocentric, but you grow a little, you live a little, you grow up, and you see some things. So that's very interesting to see, some of what's being discussed now. I told y'all that we're going to see this pushback, and we're seeing it now with this rise of these anti-swirling female platforms, these Black women who are coming out against Black women swirling. I told y'all that's what's going to happen, that the women were going to pick up the mantle against other Black women swirling. And that's exactly what we see happening. We have a couple of new platforms that are making their climbing the ranks. And they're led by Black women, and they're forming alliances with some old school Black women platforms who are all coming out against Black women swirling, and they're so much more angry about Black women swirling than they are their own son swirling, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and you see that again going back to if that had been a 9-year-old Black boy, would he be suicidal versus the 9-year-old Black girl?
Right. And it's amazing to see how Black women take it so personally when another Black woman doesn't want a Black man. Why are you taking it so personally that I don't want to be with a Black man? You would think that that would be good, since y'all saying there's not enough men for y'all.
Right.
That would take some of the pressure off. And that's what Ralph Richard Banks talked about in his book, Is Marriage for White People. But I don't know, it's very strange that you want more competitors. You want more sexual competitors, because ultimately you don't know how to bond with Black women over anything other than Black dick.
Right.
You don't know how to be a true sister with your sister that's not surrounding around the so-called Black family, the Black child, the Black man. You don't know how to just be in your shared womanhood with me.
Right.
No, all of this other stuff needs to be attached to it before you can relate to me.
And you're bonding over penis that you can't control, and
that you can't control. And
to talk about. And sorry, go ahead.
Wait, and the interesting thing, which is what we're going to come to next with this, the whores versus wives. So the interesting is, you begrudge me and you say that I'm an enemy or a traitor if I won't be in Black love with you. But then when I'm in, so I'm only going to deal with the brothers. And since they ain't enough for everybody, I'm now screwing your man. Now I'm an enemy whose head needs to be taken off. Well, wait a minute, hold up a second.
Right. What is
your Black love here? So I said, you're right, sister. I'm not going to get with the white boy. I can't do no pink dick either. It's nothing but the chocolate brothers for me. And then I said, matter of fact, yours is looking quite right.
Yes, yours is looking very nice.
Yours is looking quite right. Remember, we used to be sister wives back in Africa. So let me get a chunk of your chocolate. And the first time you find out that I'm screwing your Black love man, suddenly now I become persona. Now, the sisterhood goes out the window. Now you want to take my damn head off. Right. So which is it?
Flash the face, throw acid on you.
Now you want to beat me up. Now you want to take me out. You want to slash my face. But wait a minute. I'm down here with you doing the Black love thing, because when I said there wasn't enough for them, for all of us, so I'm gonna go over here. You shamed me, called me a traitor and a demon spawn who hates you and hates your babies and your womb and Black people. So I said, okay, well then I'm gonna stay in this sisterhood with you and compete with you for the same 3 ashy dicks. And then when you find out that I got your ashy dick in my mouth, now I'm an enemy of the sisterhood, and I'm the enemy of Black womanhood. But wait a minute, which is it?
Yeah.
Which is it? Do you want me here in the struggle? Because don't you know that struggle? Part of the Black struggle is for all of us to share ashy dick. You didn't know that was part of the struggle?
Yeah, that's part of the bonding process.
That's part of the bonding process. So then when I bond with you by sleeping with your man, now you're ready to take my head off.
Right.
We don't even know. We don't even think correctly. Let me tell you something. The best thing that could happen for a Black love chick is for a certain percentage of Black women to dip out. Yeah. She's the best sister you will have. The sisters who hang around with you in Black love, she's secretly eyeing your man. Mm-hmm. See, she want that Black love too, exclusive to her ass. So all that sisterhood go out the window when your man start looking right to her. Because remember, we love our mandingos. Well, she loved your mandingo too.
That's right.
Okay. So if you was smart, you would let a certain segment of Black women go their own way without come for her, trying to destroy her, without calling her names, without shaming her and guilting her, because that actually solidifies your position. It tightens the marriage squeeze. I mean, it loosens the marriage squeeze where the men have all of the bargaining chips, because there's so many of you and so few of them, but you're not thinking strategically because you're thinking emotionally, because you so afraid of being left behind. Why you be afraid to be left behind with your own men? If I decide not to stay in this with you, what you so afraid of, that he gonna kick your ass and I won't be there to get my ass kicked too? What is
Right.
it that you're afraid
Yeah,
of?
exactly. What are you afraid of?
I don't understand. So this, which leads to our next talking point. So there is a very interesting debate that's going around in BWC sectors on social media, on Facebook. It's been a kind of a knockdown, drag out that started a couple of days ago. And so what happened was, one sister commented on the whole situation with Cardi B and Offset. Y'all know that ratchet rumor mill going on over there in the world of black ratchetry and Blackistani nonsense. So Cardi B, who to most of y'all say she not black, but I guess she black today. I don't know. Y'all can't decide what y'all want Cardi B to be.
Right.
So she's now divorcing Offset because he's been cheating on her the whole time. What a surprise. And so some little Instagram hoe came forward and said that she apologizes for cheating, for sleeping with Offset, because she didn't realize that the girl's marriage, that Cardi B's marriage to Offset was serious, that it was a real thing, just based off of what she was seeing. And so black women are all in their feelings. They are throwing this little girl under the bus. She's a tramp. She's a whore. She don't respect marriage. She don't blah, blah, blah. So one sis was doing just that. She was like, these side chick hoes, y'all need to stay in your lane, and don't, you'll get your face sliced fucking around with me. It got real ugly. So another sister was like, whoa, hold up a second. So in essence, you expect every other black woman to respect your marriage. This whole conversation about marriage and whether or not in sisterhood. Does particularly do women in general, but more specifically. So this is going to be an interesting conversation, ladies, and a lot of y'all are going to walk away feeling some kind of way about what I'm getting ready to say. So there was a conversation we've been having in my group about it, and so there's this notion that I think a lot of black women have, that one of the basic tenets of sisterhood is for you to respect another black woman's relationship with her man, particularly her black man. So if she's married or in a serious committed relationship, as part of the sisterhood, you should not make yourself sexually or romantically available to somebody else's husband. And that was what the first girl was saying. And that if you do so, that you are trash ass bitch. Now, there's another woman who works as a sex worker, professional sex worker. She does cam work and some what is it? Phone sex and sugar baby stuff. Is saying, actually, why do I owe you loyalty? Why do I owe you loyalty? It's one thing if I know you, that's different. If you're my sister or a friend, but if I don't know you, then why do I owe you loyalty? And so the two of them started going back and forth. It got really ugly. It's unfortunate because they're both cool. I know of them both. But it got really ugly, and this led to a very interesting conversation in my group. And then you're a part of my group, so you listened, and then me and you were talking about it. And I said, this would be a very interesting discussion to bring to the public square, because both of us represent those camps, right? So you, at the Pink Pill woman, longtime married woman, who teaches the majority of the women who follow your platform are marriage-minded women. And so you kind of represent the wife side, and me being a shadow side woman who venerates the whore energy, the fuck you pay me energy, I kind of represent the whore side. So it would be an interesting conversation to bring to the public. And so that's part of the reason why we're doing this today, ladies, because we wanted to have this discussion.
Right.
And
it's interesting. I have a position, but do you want to keep this going, and then I'll give the position afterwards?
So here is the deal. As a woman who does this work, so this is what I was saying in the group. As a woman who does this work and has tried to create, safe spaces based on Black women's sisterhood for years, I see the wishy-washiness in Black women's sisterhood. And one of the things that I saw in this exchange and the talking points on both sides is this. One of the things that was being said by the sis who was angry at the side chick was that if a man could only cheat if there's women for him to cheat with. So if women were really sisters to each other, they would stay away from married men, and that way the men could not cheat.
Right.
Now, that's where we gonna part ways.
Yeah.
And we're going to part ways because of this. When you make a vow between you and a man, that's between you and the man. You're not making a vow between you, the man, and the 3 billion other coochies on the planet.
With you.
There are literally 3 billion other female bodies on this planet, all of which present a potential threat to your relationship because they are females who your man might be sexually attracted to. When a man decides to get married to a woman, if he's basing it on, if the understanding of the marriage is a traditional Western notion of marriage where both are going to be sexually exclusive and monogamous to each other, he goes in knowing that there's 3 billion other coochies on the planet that he may want to dip into and out of at times, but he's making the pledge that he will not do that. It is not the responsibility of the 3 billion other coochies on this planet your man's phallus. It is not the responsibility of strange women who do not know you to help you maintain your marriage. It is not. Let me tell you why I say this. Y'all have heard me long say that patriarchy is actually a war of the wombs, and it is actually women who are behind patriarchy. You've heard me say it for years, and this is a prime example of what I mean. In one of the film studies, Sex, Power, and the Dark Feminine, Shadow Feminine film study that I just did last week, a couple of weeks ago, we did a study of 4 or 5 movies. One of the movies that we did, which was recommended by you, Chris, was the remake of the movie The Stepford Wives, which is a 2004 version based off of the original, I think, 1976 version. The 2004 version was kind of comical. Whereas the first version was kind of almost like a psychological thriller, almost a horror flick. Mm-hmm. We watched the 2004 version, which you reminded me of. I had seen it years ago, but I forgot about it. And so in this movie, there's, they moved to this community in upstate New York where the women all become like these they become like robots for their husband, perfect robots for their husband. And there's a woman who moves there, very, a corporate woman, a very powerful, just got fired from her job. She's played by the redhead actress. I can't think of her name now.
Nicole Kidman.
Mm-hmm. And so she's married, and to get away from all the drama, they move to this community, and starts noticing that all the women there are like caricatures. They're all dressed the same. They talk the same. They've lost their individual selves.
And they look like straight like rip outs from 1950s magazines.
Right. And they're just like perfect wives. What the average Western man would think of as the perfect wife. And so turns out that the men have all joined together, and they have all participated in this thing where they put a chip or something in the brains of their wives and turn them into robots. And her husband is being seduced by the men in the group who want him to do the same thing to her. And he's thinking about doing it. Mm-hmm. In the end, he chooses not to do it. Anyway, long story short, at the end of the whole thing, the main man who everybody thinks is behind the whole thing, that he is the orchestrator of this world in Stepford that is turning all the women into robots for their husbands. Everyone thinks it's a man who's behind it. It turns out it is not a man. It is his wife, played by
Glenn Close.
Mm-hmm. She is a neuroscientist, high level woman. Turns out that the man that you think is the leader of the ringleader of this whole community, he's a robot. Her first person that she did this, she created a robot to be the perfect husband and set him up to be the alpha leader, the alpha male leader, and then created this world with the perfect wives and and all of the husbands, by the way, are very nerdy, beta male, unattractive, but they got these beautiful wives who just
perfect in every way,
in every way.
An American man would think,
right. So it turns out that it's a woman behind it all. Mm-hmm. And the story is, this is the story. This is how it relates to what we're talking about. That years before all of this, she was this high-powered neuroscientist, career woman who was, climbing the corporate ladder and doing her own thing and was neglecting her marriage with her husband, and then came home one day and found her husband in bed with the young 20-something-year-old secretary from his job, and she murders them both. How she got away with the murder is never explained. Mm-hmm. So then she realizes that the reason why her husband cheated on her is because she was too busy being a modern feminist woman and she wasn't fulfilling his needs. Mm-hmm. And so then she sets about creating this perfect world where the women are perfect and the men are happy and satisfied. And so the woman was behind everything, even though it looked as if the men were behind it, it was really the woman. And this was a perfect allegory for when I tell you that patriarchy is actually a woman's game. She's just using the men as the front. I told y'all that. Mm-hmm. But here is why she did this. She ended up losing her husband to some younger woman who did all the things he wanted to do. So in this perfect world where she made women perfect robots, there was no cheating. There was no women sleeping with anybody else's husbands because they were robots. They were programmed to only answer to their men, to give their men sex on demand, to cook and clean, and to not have their own personalities, to feed the male phallus and ego in such a way that he was so satisfied he wasn't looking for a mistress. Mm-hmm. She was a robot, so she couldn't be sleeping with nobody else's husband. And the world was nice and orderly and everything was everything. And then Glenn Close's character put her robot husband up as the ringleader, and no one knew that he was a robot until the very end. But she was the mastermind behind it. Why? Because she wanted to control all the other pussies.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
She wanted to control all the other women so they didn't pose a sexual threat to her. And that is what patriarchy is. Women engaging in the patriarchal bargain, selling each other out so we can control all the other pussies. This is the same thing that happened in The Handmaid's Tale. I did a study of the show The Handmaid's Tale on Netflix, where I did a parallel study between the world of Gilead and the world of Blackistan, and showed how the wives of the commanders in The Handmaid's Tale were the same way. They wanted to overthrow the modern society and institute this female-hating society because they wanted to control the wombs of all the women around them. Mm-hmm. So how does that tie back to this conversation that's being taken place about the wife versus the whore? When you are a woman and you decide that you want to engage in patriarchal marriage with a man, you make a promise between yourself and that man. That man knows that he has to face the temptations of the 3 billion other coochies on this planet and for supposedly forsake them for you. Mm-hmm. He is making a promise to you to forsake all the other coochies on the planet. It is not the responsibility of all the other coochies on the planet to make it easy for him to do so, period. Now, one would say, well, out of sisterhood, you should. And maybe you should. But since there's so many other things in sisterhood that Black women don't honor, I'm surprised why that one. How come the thing about sisterhood always seems to be enforced when it's a dick involved?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
When I tell y'all, don't talk about shit that happens in my private groups. He has signed this non-disclosure agreement, this legally binding confidentiality clause, and then you come into my groups and violate that. Where's the sisterhood in that?
Right.
Where's the sisterhood in giving Christelyn's personal information out to the He-Man Black Women Haters Club so they can dox her on YouTube? Mm-hmm. Where's the sisterhood in poaching each other's customers and clients because you're trying to build a platform, and rather than creating something that's worthy enough for people to be drawn to you, you're going to try to sully another woman's platform, another business name, just so you can take all her clients. Where's all the sisterhood when that's happening? Because that's the stuff I see every day. No, the only time that we're supposed to be sisters is when we helping each other regulate them dicks. So, sister, what I need you to do is stay away from my dick, please. Right. Mm-hmm. So what was being said by the woman who was mad at the side chick was that if you cut off the supply, then she knows that you can't cut off the demand. You cannot tame the libido of the human male. Now, only he can tame it. It's up to him to decide if he will or he won't. You cannot. I don't care how many promises he makes to you. See, this is a shadow side, ladies. This is the dark wisdom. This is the shadow side of reality that a lot of women are not ready to hear, but it's true. You know you can't tame that libido. You can't control the demand. So what you want to do is then control the supply. And then you're going to beat up and threaten and do all of these things to the supply and tell the supply to stay away from the demand. No, but the agreement is not between you and the supply. The agreement is between you and the demand. And
Right.
so this thing that is taking place where you see, and we're seeing it more and more between the secure the bag, sugar baby, level up Black woman, and the I'm going to get a ring and get a husband. You see that kind of divide already happening within, this kind of the Black woman centric spaces, right? Where you kind of have this wife versus sugar baby mentality. And that even kind of happened a little bit on your platform a couple of months ago, where there was some tension between like the sugar baby side and the women on your side.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of it is, ladies, is that, you cannot orchestrate a world in which there is no sexual competition for you, even amongst Black women.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to engage with men, and especially if y'all want these higher up men, y'all say y'all want these millionaires and these really great guys. A man is only as loyal as his options. And when you get that higher caliber dude, you're going to risk other women going to want him, and he may want some of them. And so you're going to have to figure out how to navigate and negotiate that reality without threatening to split the head of every Black woman or any woman in general who presents a potential threat to your shit. See,
Right.
you can't build a relationship with someone else by trying to remove all temptations from him. That's not the point of this. The point is that if he is supposedly signing up for exclusivity with you, then that is his cross to bear. You can't now be splitting the head of every chick because you don't like that. You can't control his demand, so you want to control the supply and say, if you're my sister, you'll help me do this. Because I got questions, because there's lots of areas that I feel like you as Black women should show sisterhood in that you don't. So for example, you want me to be a part of this marriage with you by staying away from your husband. Fine. Okay, so you don't involve me in your shit. But if I come to you later and say, please don't have that fourth baby by that trifling ass nigga, because you're going to end up separated from him, and you're going to be struggling in this community, and that those children are going to be raised half-ass, and those boys are going to grow up to be monsters who are going to hold me and the rest of the Black women in the community hostage. You're going to tell me to mind my business, stay out of your womb, and stay out of your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, you want me all involved in your marriage to help you make it secure. On the other hand, you don't want to have to account to me for anything that comes out of the marriage. Absolutely not. But Black women are ridiculous, and we want to play sisterhood games when it serves us. Do I think it's nice for women to sleep with somebody else's husband? I don't think that's a nice thing to do at all. But it is not the next woman's responsibility to stay out, to remove all temptation from your man. And if you're not prepared to deal with what that reality means, then you need to avoid all heterosexual relationships or heterosexual marriages, because that's what men are, baby girls. They struggle in that area. They struggle. And if your man can't live up to that that basic tenet of his agreement with you, then that's between you and him, and you need to deal with him. Right. So I know a lot of y'all don't agree with that. A lot of y'all are going to feel some kind of way about what I said. But that's the reality of it. And when I saw a friendship, not a Facebook friendship, but a virtual friendship disintegrate right in front of my eyes because of this topic, I was like, yo, this is insane. Because like I said, it's amazing to me how Black women seem to want to enforce the tenets of Black sisterhood, primarily when it involves a dick. So when y'all are in my spaces and there are no men there, but you can't respect the NDA, you can't treat each other with respect, you can't respect the confidence, you don't screen cap and take people's private conversation, you don't take my recordings and let other people hear it, you don't play my recordings where sisters are sharing their personal life journeys and play them in front of your boyfriend, your husband, give them to the He-Man Black Woman Haters Club, give them to different men on YouTube so they can listen to. Oh no, there's no sisterhood involved when there's no dick involved. Mm-hmm. But the moment a dick is involved, suddenly we all supposed to come together and be sisters to watch each other's back. Why can't y'all be sisters when there's no man involved?
Right. Well, it's the same reason why there's anti-swirling led by Black women. It's the same reason. It's centered around Black men. What's interesting is the whole idea of fighting for a man is where we go wrong. And I talked to you a little bit about this because with the expectation that other women are supposed to assist you in keeping your man in line, there is this expectation that, again, no culpability on the man, but the fighting on his behalf. Like, I'll give you an example. Cardi B, I heard, was sending out goons to fight women who her husband was cheating with. And that, in a way, is fighting for your man. And one thing that I want to be made clear, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again because it's appropriate, especially now, is that fighting for, if you are fighting for your man, you've already lost. There is no fighting for men. There is no amount of fighting other women, being on the phone with him, texting him, throwing him, your vagina, cooking his meals. There's nothing you can do that will work to get you the desired result for fighting for a man. Fighting another woman will also not give you that result. I remember getting I told you guys, I don't know, it was a week or two ago, again, how I got my butt beat by a woman who, unbeknownst to me, was the baby mama of a guy I was seeing. He had like 6 kids. I had no idea. I was led into a neighborhood and beaten senseless. I didn't even know who she was. It was the first time I saw her. And she was willing to fight me and to fight for him. That just never works. If you feel like you have to fight for your man, you will never win. Conversely, though, men can fight for women and win them back. Or win them, period. But a woman cannot fight for a man and be successful. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Even if he stays, there's some part of him that just you've lost. There is no fighting for a man. There is never a time where that works. If you feel in the position to have to fight for him, you have already lost, and it's time to take the measures to do what you need to do to move on. That's how I feel. I felt like that since being, like, people would say, I remember being in high school. We said, well, why don't you fight for him? Why don't you beg him? It never works. It never works. It only works. Men fight. Men fight. Women receive that positively. Men don't receive that in the same way. They don't look at you in the same way as, a man fighting for, the love of a woman that maybe he's wrong and he's taking the necessary steps, and you see him, you open the door and there's 100 red roses at the front door. That stuff works with us. Doesn't work with them. You can never earn faithfulness. You can never fight for that emotion in them. It doesn't ever work. And that's my position as a married woman. If my husband said to me today, I'm seeing somebody else, I would say I'd be very upset. I'd be devastated. I'd be trying to figure out how we're going to split all this stuff in half. But what I would not do is fight for him. Because once he's made that decision, there's nothing you can really do. There is no fighting over a man. It does not work.
And you can't see, here's the deal. This thing of, well, I can't, because here is the deal. Here's the reality that we all face as heterosexual women. We know that when it comes to being monogamous, that is not men's strong suit. We know this. History has told us this. There's all kinds of bioevolutionary theory as to why this is the case. But the truth of it is we all know this. And so this makes us very insecure human beings because we're so afraid. When we were having a conversation, I think it was on the sex power and dark shadow feminine film study we had during a telecall. I was like, so what is this deal with with women, not just Black women in general, about being like falling to pieces if they find out that their man is cheating? What is that? Don't y'all go into marriage knowing it's a possibility he's gonna cheat? I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And so one of the sisters said, I thought it was such a smart thing what she said. She said, it's not even just the sex. She said, let me tell you why women get, and I think she was married. or had been married. She was an older woman. She said the reason why women lose their minds, it's not just because he had sex with someone else. It's because she's built a life with this person, life that she built. She needs to feel secure in it, and finds out that there's another woman involved, that she starts to feel insecure, that her security is not stable. And that is why women get so upset and feel so easily threatened by sexual competition with other women inside their relationships. And I said, well, that's where you go wrong. See, this is where women go wrong. A couple of years ago, I threw a marriage makeover event. And I remember when I threw it, there were people saying, well, Brooklyn's not even married. How could she throw an event on marriage? And she's not even married. But see, those women, they didn't know what I know. By the time that event was over, there were women in the event who were married, and some had been married for years, and said, yo, I almost didn't take this event because I too thought, well, what could I possibly learn in an event about marriage being hosted by a woman who's not married and it's not really marriage minded? But I'm so glad that I took this event, and I see holes in my circumstance that I need to now circle back around and fix. Because I realized there were things, I'm vulnerable even in this loving marriage with this man. There are vulnerabilities present that I need to take a second look at for myself. The reason why I could throw an event on marriage, even though I'm not a marriage-minded woman and I'm not married myself, is because of this. I know marriage to be what marriage is, which is a business contract. I know we want to believe in Disney and love and all that. I know that's not nice, but the truth of it is that, weddings happen in church, divorces happen in court. You don't go back to the church to undo what you did at the church. No, you had to go get the marriage license first. Then you have the officiated ceremony, and then you call yourself married. But you had to have that license first. When you go to dissolve the marriage, you don't go back to church and have the pastor then officially split you up. No, now you go into the divorce court and go into the judge and having him dissolve the marriage. Why? Because this was always a legally binding contract. Your feelings notwithstanding, that's what marriage is. And if you know the history of marriage and private property and all of that, you will understand what it is. I know many of you are Christian and you believe that marriage is given to you by God, and let what God put together, let no man put asunder, and let the marriage bed not be defiled. And all that's lovely, but that's not where marriage started. Traditional marriage started with the advent of private property and male domination. Men needed to know that the children that they had with women that they were having sex with were their own biological children. So he claimed that woman, he claimed that womb, and then he would have heirs who he can pass down his stuff to, his land, his stuff, all that crap to, as a form of immortality. And so marriage was the binding contract that said that womb belongs to me. The father protected the womb as when the girl was a child, making sure that keeping away all the other boys and all the other men, keeping the womb pure for the potential husband. And then once an agreement is decided, and depending on what culture you're in, a couple of goats and some chickens were exchanged. cow or two, some beer maybe. Then the father transfers ownership of that womb from his house to the husband's house. That's what traditional marriage is, ladies. Y'all can paint it with a whole bunch of roses if you want. That's what it is. That's what it was built on. And I know we're in modern times, but you can't change the fruit from the root. In essence, that's what it is about. And you can argue with that if you want. It doesn't matter. That's the history of it. And so therefore, in marriage, when you're dealing with this stuff, you need to recognize that is what's really going on. Your feelings aside, Disney aside, I know y'all all want to be a princess for a day, say yes to the dress aside. The truth of it is that there's some other things going on in the institution of marriage that have nothing to do with your feelings. Mm-hmm. And so when you go into marriage, securing the ring is not securing the bag. And people don't understand that. When you get in marriage, and this is some shadow wisdom from y'all, brothers is not going to like what I'm getting ready to say. Men don't ever like when women give other women dark wisdom about men and sex. But the work just begins when you get the ring. If you think that your husband's love for you is the security, then you're going to feel easily threatened when you think that love is challenged by an outside party. That's why you lose your mind when you find out he's having an affair. Aside from just feeling betrayed, and of course that would hurt my feelings too. I mean, I'm a human being. But the reason why you fall apart and now you want to bash a bitch's head in is because you thought that the ring and his love was your security. That's where you went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to work within that marriage to secure yourself, to secure your shit, to make sure that you're taken care of if the marriage works or does not work.
Yep.
And in my marriage event, we talked about how do you do that? For example, I'll give y'all a little dark wisdom. I would never, ever get married as a modern day woman before I went and spent an hour talking to a divorce lawyer. Now, when I said that in the event, people were like, well, why would I talk to a divorce lawyer? Why would I go and talk to somebody who's, about divorce? If I'm before I get married, if I think we're going to end up divorce, why would I get married? See, that's your feelings. And nobody's talking about your feelings. What you need to know is the rules that govern the shit that you're about to get in. So it's simply doing your due diligence. Just like you need to know domestic violence law in the state in which you're about to get married. You need to know child custody law in the state in which you're about. Don't marry someone and have babies and be completely ignorant of the laws that govern motherhood and fatherhood in that state. Because if shit goes wrong, that now you in court fighting and dealing with laws you had no clue were overseeing this thing that you did with him when you was doing it and times were happier. No, you need to be strategic and think like a businesswoman. Yes, you love him and you want to be with him forever. But the truth of it is 60-something% of marriages end. 60-something% of first marriages end in the United States. That's 70%. I think it's 68 or 69% of first marriages end for Black women in the United States. The odds are not in your favor. So while you may love him, securing the bag is not about getting the ring. Securing the bag is about understanding your positioning and securing your position, whether the marriage works out or not. This is why I could throw an event about marriage and it be beneficial, even though I'm not married, because it wasn't about the lovey-dovey stuff. One night we did have, when we talked about the heart of marriage, I brought in people who were married, who had been married, with divorced women who were currently married, to talk about that side, because that's not my expert area. I'm not married. So I brought in experts. But then the second night, when we talked about the heart of marriage and the business of marriage, when we talked about the business, I could take over, because there are basic things that women are not thinking about before they get married that they end up being screwed under afterwards. For example, if you don't know the stand your ground law in your state, whether you're gonna marry your beloved and shit goes crazy and this motherfucker turns into Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde, when you thought he was Mr. Jekyll, and you end up in that situation like, what's her name? Who was the woman who ended up shooting the warning shot over the husband's head, and she spent the next 3
Oh yeah, I forgot her name. Yes.
And they were trying to argue the stand your ground law, and they was like, nope, absolutely not. And this was right around the time that Trayvon Martin happened, and Black people were talking about how it was so unfair that George Zimmerman got off on the stand your ground law and killed Trayvon Martin, but this sister was in jail for firing a warning shot over her husband's head, and they didn't understand the law and it's application of the law.
It was chronicled.
Right. So we were talking about. So here is the deal. Securing the bag, ladies, is not about securing a ring. Securing the bag is not about securing a man's love. And if you think that your security in your relationship and that of your children hinges on his feelings for you, you're going to get screwed, because feelings change. Mm-hmm. And this is why y'all are so easily threatened by the next bitch and them 3 billion other pussies on the planet. And now you're trying to orchestrate a world where all the women remove the temptation from your man's table so that he will be forced to be loyal to you. No, baby girl. If you were really securing the bag within the marriage and making sure you're taking care of yourself, having a fuck you fund, always have a private that he don't know about, have some money, make sure you got life insurance. There's things that you can do to make sure that even within the union of marriage, you still got to take care of yourself. But you don't want the responsibility of doing that. You want to now give him the responsibility of taking care of you because he loves you. So then when you think that love is questioned because another bitch show up and you find out she been playing on with your man's phallus, now you want to take her out. But that's because you was lazy. Because if you wouldn't be that insecure, if you was handling your business as a woman and making sure that your shit was secure within the marriage, you don't know what's going on with the finances. You have no idea what's coming and going. You just hoping that he's going to cover you. And then when you find out there's another woman involved, now you're wondering if he is. But that's because you wasn't thinking like a shrewd woman. Just because you love somebody don't mean you have to be completely vulnerable to them. Y'all have watched too many Disney movies. The man that you end up divorcing, and mind you, ladies, 80% of divorces in the United States are initiated by women.
Mm-hmm.
So if your security within your marriage is not hinged on a ring, it's about what you do within the marriage to secure you and your bloodline's position, separate from him. And now y'all have a hard time from this because he's my best friend and I don't want to keep anything from him. And well, if I think that we might not last forever, why would I marry him? That's Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all trying to bring little girl ideals into a grown woman's role. Little girls, I never forget. I used to watch those shows, Say Yes to the Dress and all those, and they would ask the woman, "How do you envision your wedding day?" And 90% of the time, what did the girl say, Crystal?
I don't know. I never watched Yes to the Dress, but I mean,
most women say that they want
to live us happily ever after, and
on their wedding day. On their wedding day, what do most women say they want to be on their wedding day?
Oh, the princess.
I want to be a princess. I want to be a princess. I've thought about this since I was 5 years old. I want to be a princess on my wedding day. Yes. But you're not going to be a princess in that marriage, boo-boo. And
right.
So
for that day, you may feel like a princess.
You want to feel like a princess.
Real work happens after that.
The princess idea that you have comes from when you was a little girl. Mm-hmm. Marriage and motherhood is not for little girls. It's for grown-ass women.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go into our marriages as grown women. We don't. We want to go into its pillow princesses that Prince Charming is going to come and save us from the world.
Right.
Rapunzel, let down your hair. And he's going to
have a couple of his babies and that's it.
And then you're right. And you don't have to make no final decisions. And he gets to, and so you can be a little girl. What you can fucking have babies by. Mm-hmm. That's what you really want. Let's keep it real. So you threatened by the next girl who wants to come over to your play with your toy in your sandbox. But see, a grown woman, when she's operating as a grown woman in motherhood and marriage, it's not that she welcomes and just tells any bitch to come in and screw my man. But she knows that the security that she's seeking doesn't come from the man's love of her. It comes from what she does with it.
Right.
How does she maneuver within that dynamic? Make sure that she and her babies are going to be okay no matter what happens. He could get hit by a truck. He could get poached out of the home by another bitch. He could just decide he don't want to do this no more. You can find out he's closetly gay. You can find out all kinds of things. He could get mentally ill. Anything can happen. If your only feelings of security are tied to his feelings for you, you're going to be screwed, which is why you're so afraid that he may feel something for someone else. But that's a little girl's trick bag, baby girls. A grown woman is not as worried. Not that she's not worried, not that she won't take some preventative measures, but, she's not as worried and easily threatened by the 3 billion other coochies on the planet. So much so that she got to create robots and shit out of the next bitch to keep in line. Yeah. So the point that I was saying in this is this, ladies. There's really no fight between the whore and the wife. Not if everybody's playing their prospective position and the wife is doing what she needs to do. A whore can never poach your man out of your house easily with pussy if you're doing what you're supposed to do. If he know that shit's gonna cost him 3/4 of his shit, if he knows that shit is going to destroy him socially, if he knows that shit is going to ruin his position, he'll think twice. It's not that all temptations have to be removed from him. You can't control that. What you can control, though, is a dynamic with him that makes it very precarious for him to act in ways that go against the rules. Mm-hmm. See, that means that you have to be calculating in a certain way that most of us do not want to do because it's love.
Right.
It's love.
Right. And he's light and fluffy. And here's the thing, Kendall. There's nothing wrong with being light and fluffy and, kind of wanting to enjoy all of that. But you've got to have that in the back of your mind.
You just have to be prepared
all of the fluffy all the time.
And the greatest threat to your marriage, ladies, I hate to tell you, is them 3 billion other coochies out there. So if you are so afraid of that, if you're so afraid of his infidelity, if all of your decisions, you're going to make a genetic tie to him with babies, you're going to make a financial tie to him with mortgages and credit and taxes all mixed together, and all of it hinges on his zipper and whether it stays up or down or not, you're not a shrewd, calculating woman.
Yep.
You should not be going into marriage thinking that the whole thing that you're building with this man hinges on his zipper. That's a silly thing, girl to do. So you're gonna walk away from the marriage, you're gonna take the father away from the children, you're gonna do all that because his zipper didn't stay up. And you didn't have no plans for that, to how to deal with that in other ways. So the only thing you can think of is to leave. And be clear, there are levels to this shit. It's one thing for a man to have an occasional indiscretion, and a whole other thing for him to have a whole family on the other side of town.
Right. Super family, exactly.
And I can see some of y'all now. I've even seen some of it. Well, I don't care. I'm just not sharing a dick. But you can't control that. And that's the problem y'all don't get. You cannot control whether or not you're going to share that dick or not. He can make all the promises in the world. The only thing that you could do was literally have that dick be detachable. And you screw that shit off every time you leave him and you put it in your purse. That's the only way that you could be sure that you're not going to share a dick. What you need to do is thinking defensively in other ways, in other areas. But y'all don't want to do that because, love.
Right.
So I agree with you. If you are to the point where you're slicing the next bitch's face, you've already lost your man.
Right. Yeah.
If you are a calculating wife and you want to make sure that the mistress, the side piece, the jump off, the companion, whatever you want to call her, the concubine, whatever you want to call her, don't walk away with your bag. There are things that you should have put in place before you even married that man. There are things that you should have done all throughout the marriage that would have made cheating and leaving you and taking your money and everything else away from you and your house and your bloodline so uncomfortable for him that he would think twice. But see, that's not what love, is it though? So which is,
no, it's not.
Do you want to be strategizing grown ass women, or do you want to be princesses and a princess for a day? It's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide.
Well, we'll let you have your day, but the day after is when you need to stay smart.
Right. And so I have to, I'm sorry on this one, ladies. I'm siding with the whore. I'm siding with the women who say, listen, if your man is in my DMs propositioning me, now and here's the deal. I'm not talking about infidelity based on sex and love. That's a whole other conversation. I'm talking about if your man is offering to pay me because he wants access to me, pay me financially. Now, if you just screwing somebody else's husband because you in love, then you a bum bitch. So then you get whatever comes with that. But you cannot expect another woman to say, I'm going to turn down. For example, the sis that was making this argument, she works in sex work. So she does cam work. So she's not even dealing with, she's not even having sex with these men. It's cam work. Should she stop and ask every single man who pays her for, I don't know, however long, 10-minute show. Should she stop and ask him, I'm sorry, I can't take your money if you're married. Are you married?
Right. Yeah, she's not going to ask that.
Stop and ask every man that seeks her out for sexual favors via the internet, which is legitimate business.
Yeah.
Because she's not touching him, so she's putting on a little show, no different than your man going to the strip club every other weekend. So you can call her a hoe if you want to, but you might want to find out why Junebug can't stay out the strip club every weekend. So, but should she stop? Should a stripper stop and say, I would love to give you this lap dance, but are you married? No, it's not another woman. It's not another woman's.
I need to be looking out for your wife. No,
right. Your husband is supposed to be looking out for his marriage, and if he's not, then you should have things in place to either corral his ass back in line, or you need to decide what you're going to do next. But you coming at the next woman and making this about sisterhood. Let me tell you something. Don't pull that sisterhood nonsense on a bitch like me. Don't pull that black sisterhood nonsense talking about now we sisters and I'm supposed to help you monitor and regulate your dick out of sisterhood, because I see all the ways that black women are unsisterly to each other every day. So that shit is not going to work on me, because I host black women only spaces. I don't allow men in my videos, under my videos. I don't allow men in my groups. I don't allow men in my comment sections. I don't allow men on my calls. And that has not stopped some of y'all from acting a plumb fucking fool. So clearly, I don't want to hear about how now all of a sudden I'm supposed to see you as your sister and respect your marriage and respect your thing. Y'all, the only time y'all care about anything when it comes to anything in life as Black women is when it's bundles and balls, hair and peni. That's the only thing y'all care about. Any other time, I can't get y'all to act sisterly with me by coming in the spirit of sisterhood. Don't violate the sister circle. Don't have men in the background on the calls. Don't let other people hear my calls. Don't give my intellectual property away to people. Don't share my links. Don't do. And y'all can't half the time. How many times have I had to end a call early? How many warfare situations have I gotten to with fellow Black women on Facebook, on YouTube? No, there's no sisterhood present. So don't now start all of a sudden telling me that we're supposed to be sisters over some goddamn dick. If you can't be sisters with me when it doesn't involve a phallus, I don't care what color it is, you can't be sisters with me when one is involved. Fuck you. That's the way I feel about it. Fuck you and your little ashy dick. Because y'all can't. You can't figure out how to be sisters without the son being present one way or another, then stay the hell away from me. But don't tell me I'm so supposed to be sisterly to you and help keep your man in check when you won't be my sister any other time. How about you be a sister to me and not birth the next generation of monsters into my community? But when I tell you, please don't birth that next generation of monsters into my community, you tell me to mind my fucking business and stay out of your womb. So that's all right. I'm going to stay out of your marriage too. And if your husband's in my DMs and he's offering up whatever it is I want, and he's offering up to pay me, I don't owe you that allegiance either. You don't care about what you birthed into my community. I don't care about your husband's money being in my PayPal account. Like, I just say, if we're going to be sisters, then let's keep it consistent.
Right. Absolutely. But there's always contradiction. In the Black community, is always contradiction. Arvin, thank you for the $2 donation. I actually have to go. I got to pick up my daughter from a soccer match.
I got my next
what you got going tonight.
Oh, okay. So I got a lot going on. I have the Sociopath Next Door book study that we're doing off the chain. We're on chapter 6. Woo! Chapter 6 was all about the Black community today. And then we also have the 3%. We're starting season 2 tonight. So as soon as the 3%. So right now we're just doing book studies and film studies. Next year, we will be transitioning into the Blue Pill platform. I'll be moving away from Facebook. I have my own website with my own forums and community on my website. So no more Facebook groups unless I decide to throw one here and there. But in general, everything's going to be on my thing that I had built from the ground up. So right now, I'm just transitioning at the end of the year. We're keeping it light and fun, but we're still being educated. So right now, we have a film study and a book study going on. I just sent out email invites for registration for all of my past events for the past 3 years, everything I've ever had on my platform. So if you just finding me now, or you found me this year and you didn't know about all the other stuff I had, now is the time to be on my email list, because I'm sending out, now you can get everything. On Friday, I'm sending out an email for all of my past YouTube videos and my past Facebook fan page videos. Those long 4 or 5 hour presentation videos I was doing on Facebook this year, you can get those too. After this year, after December 31st, it all's going into the vault and I'm moving on. I'm not selling that shit again. So if y'all have videos, or if you have events that you wanted to take this year or last year or 2016 that you didn't get, now is the time to get it. It's just the recordings. There are no groups unless specified. But you can get those foundational discussions, because I'm moving on and we're going to be talking about other things. And I'm not circling back to start, for those who are just finding me now, you got to catch up. And so this is the time. And so if you want to get the invite, then you need to be on my email list. Hit me up at KsC Blue Pill, BLEUPILL @outlook.com. Say, hey, I'm a Black woman. I want to be on your email list. I'll shoot you a link. You register, and then when the next round of invites go out, you'll see it, and you can register for old events. You have to submit an agreement form, which includes a confidentiality clause. You have to sign that, and then when you make your I'll send you the recordings. Some of the events include movies, the movies that we studied. You'll get a copy of the movie. You'll get a copy of the lectures and all of that. And then you have until the end of the month. And then after that, it's a wrap. I did this last year. I'm doing it again this year. And then at December 31st, all of the links go dead and we're moving on. So this is the time. For those of you who are saying you're on my email list, but you're not getting anything from me, check your spam folders and all your filters, because you may be, your email system may be filtering me out. Sometimes I get bounce backs. Your emails won't allow my emails to get through. I don't know why. So check those. If not, then email me and I'll send you a link to register again. So thanks, Chris, for having me.
Oh, you know what? We always light it up. And next year, we're going to be doing the purple pill.
Yeah.
So.
Next year, we're going to be doing the Purple Pill podcast. Me and Chris, we moving on from YouTube. So y'all going to have to follow. We sick of the YouTube drama. We want to leave the YouTube to, the hoteptresses and the Black love specialists and the people who are scamming y'all left and right. We're going to leave YouTube for that. Chris will still keep her, her Beyond Black and White Elite. But our work together, our Purple Pill work, will be on a private podcast that you can listen to, and we're going to be covering different topics, everything that's going on and in the world, and things that we think are important for savvy Black women to have. We also have, and we're not going to talk about what this is yet, but we also have something else, a separate.
Oh yes.
Me and Chris got together and started talking about a need that we realized there's a niche that needs to be filled for Black women that no one is dealing with. And we are brave enough to go there. We are going to have a separate forum, separate from the blue pill, separate from the pink pill, that is specifically for a certain segment of Black women. It's going to be a shadow side platform for very specific women to come and find a community and a tribe to discuss the issues that are unique to them. We'll announce more about it later, but we're working on it. This is going to be off the chain because some of y'all need some safe spaces to have some very specific conversations you're not able to have, and you need a place to be able to do that. And so we're working on something for you. We'll give out more details later, but we have y'all in mind. We've been watching, we're taking notes, and we're seeing where the needs are, and we're seeking to fill them, and we're moving on. So while other people, say they're going to build schools that never get built, say they're going to do documentaries that never happen, plan retreats that never go anywhere, we're going to be moving on. Chris has her new platform, her new website, which looks great. She has her Pink Pill retreats. Someone has said that someone like me might be joining that Pink Pill retreat in Italy.
Yes.
I've heard rumors.
Rumor has it that you might be showing up.
That I might be on that Pink Pill retreat in Italy.
I know. Oh, wow.
Great things for 2019. So we're leaving the draft and the crumbs for people who are still, fighting over likes and YouTube AdSense and YouTube ad dollars. We are beyond that. We don't need that stuff, and we're moving beyond that. So for those of us who say, "How do we know y'all are really leveling up?" Just watch.
Just watch. You'll see. You'll see. You see it now, but you'll see even more. 2019 is going to be the year of the complete reveal in every way.
Yep. Excellent. All right, ladies, I gotta go.
Yep. All right. Your thing tonight, and you guys got the email. I sent the link again, and I'll put it in the description box so you guys can have that. And I will talk to y'all in the next video. And Kendall, as always, amazing job.
Thank you, sis. Bye.
Bye.